Guys, gotta get my camera up. Hold on. Oh, there it is. Hello. How's it going? I've got my light situation to sort out. Hold on. Why am I dressed with my old man blinder glasses? It's funny. If I'm trying to look young and cool, it's totally backfiring. I tell you what, though. I did sleep late because I was up late. So, yeah, I'm starting my stream late, and that's on me. But hey, maybe this is the new schedule. I'll just have to move it up 3 hours. Oy. Good coffee to start our stream with. I am once again, back working on this thing, this tortuous thing. I got to get back to the release work. I was about halfway through it. Oof. Yeah, sorry. I am barely awake. As you can tell, I just jumped out of the shower. I'm like, ah. But hey, that doesn't mean I can't do code. So we'll see how far I can get with this. Well, my eyes clear. So, hey, how's everybody doing today? Saturday afternoon. It is hot here in Texas. I've got the AC turned about as low as I can to kind of, I don't know if that reduces my stress on the system or what. I've got it around 78 in here, so fine. They say you can get hypothermia at 70 degrees, so. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty much 5 o'clock, so let's get the chat up. Usually there's no one. I haven't been announcing these things, but I might put up a little bit of an announcement. I don't know. Not a big deal the way I see it. Hello, my channel. Hello, chat. All right, yeah, the way I see it. Oh, and hi, Discord. I started you up early. I've been practicing my whistling skills. I don't know if that's a thing. Maybe I can, get some work in um, on the next spaghetti western. I do a fine spaghetti western theme whistle wise. Not that particular one. You know, I'm happy to do it, but there are better samples. So anyway, yeah, obviously need more weekend juice. By the power of Grayskull, my friends, I've been fixing up this config.ini crap, and yeah, I'm having fun with it. The gist is that you um, maybe both are worth covering. There are times when you want to do something direct from shell or script, right? Yeah, there we go. Shell or script. I'm writing back to someone about this stuff, and it's like, well, we've got these command line option commands: opt set, opt enable, opt disable, and such like. I can bring one up, for example, and they're all in the bundle, in the bin folder. So opt add, opt disable, enable, find, which is I almost forgot that was there. Find one or more options, so it finds it and then it returns. I guess maybe what it's defined as. I don't know if it has a line number. It's got some cool stuff. I forgot all about this one. Ooh. But yeah, look at that. For FN and configuration ADV. Yeah, that's pretty much what I ended up doing with the new script too. It looks pretty much the same. It's like unconsciously reproduced this without realizing it. But yeah, enabled, find matching configuration, and I guess you can say, oh yeah, D or disabled, E or enabled. Case one in, yeah, so I went for the cheaper way of doing the parameters. Lately, I've been more like um, go for the whole get_ops thing. If you're into shell scripting, of course, you know the way you do it in Bash or whatever is get_ops. And that just returns a sort of an array of whatever you've specified here. So you say, oh, I want these parameters, and B has some value attached to it, and then, yeah, so you do that, and you get this back. So yeah, that's the kind of thing I've been into lately. I've patched up build all examples because I figured I'll have it, I'll add a flag so it'll take this config stuff that I'm doing and export those as it goes. And so I added an INI option, and I was gonna document these, I guess. I don't know, how do you document things? Do the thing. So yeah, branch would be the branch to fetch from configurations repo. Continue is continue. I was using both resume and I was using with path. Got to remember not to. I think maybe if I use it without any value attached, that would be better. But yeah, or resume equals path. Yeah, I gotta like almost remind people that it's this. Start at some config in the, and it's all sorted. So I guess you base sorted order or files. You could say file system order, because it might do like uppercase last or lowercase last rather. If something starts with lowercase, it'll end up at the end. So your lowercase a will come after your uppercase z. Excuse me. I promise not to gulp too much. I know it's obnoxious. Like I should get up the chips and start chewing. So hey, yeah, I got most of the release stuff done last night, so that's why I was up so late. And now I'm on to returning back to that, but also sort of reviewing my stuff. So yeah, one of the things was opt_find. I forgot opt_find existed. Opt_find. I mean, obviously one would be motherboard. And it certainly does, yeah, it returns where it is and what's on that line as far as the value. And it doesn't, I guess it may return if there's a comment there. Like right now, it's also note that it is disabled, and so really just getting the text. Very bare, very basic. So, if you wanted to use that in a script. So yeah, these are still worthwhile, I think, to have opt_set and opt_enable, opt_disable for your scripting purposes. But yeah, this simplifies things somewhat. I think there's some imperfection to it. Like, when you want to specify, okay, motherboard, well, motherboard, a good example, I guess, uppercase, whatever you specify here is expected to be uppercase, and I could do something like, oh, well, if you leave that off, it'll put it on for you. Or if you put it lowercase, it would uppercase it for you, and all those kinds of things. Like look for special cases and do that for you, just in case you screw up. So you can use shorthand or whatever if you feel like it. So yeah, now you wouldn't use the number here, of course, because those can change very quickly over time, and they do all the time. So always use those names. Yeah, so those would be cool. And you could also, if someone forgot to put board on, of course you could say, hey, please put board on. Did you forget to put board on? Because more often it's like sometimes you'd rather just ping the user and let them know, oh, hey, there's an error here, rather than let them think that this is right and then they should put that in their config also later. I mean, it's not a huge concern. It's just like anything that's hidden by procedure, like is it becomes unknown knowledge. It becomes out of sight, out of mind, as it were. So yeah. Anyway, please use Watchdog. So all these kinds of things, on, off, etc. They all work at this point. And yeah, the last thing I did was, and I wasn't on for this, so I'll use this thing here, but we'll go with, we're in configuration.py, and sorry, I know VS Code is kind of ugly sometimes. I'll just do a little zooming up, and maybe that'll help. And is there a shortcut for theme? Yeah, there it is, KT. Command K, Command T. One after the other, let's try. Red, ooh, that looks good. That'd probably look good on the YouTube like thumbnail, right? Why is he in red today? I don't know. He just chose red today. It works. It works. So yeah, so here we are in red world. Let me turn on more lights here. Yeah, I said I was going to work out the lights, but then it actually turned out one of these isn't even plugged in. Had it out of the way for the robot, and now we got to get it back. Oh yeah. What color temperature today? Have a little bit of blue. That works for me. All right. Status active. Okay, playing with OBS. So not much going on here. Verbose, blab. We do a try and fail there. LCD's special case I mentioned before. So this actually just applies the option, of course. So this just goes through the config file and makes sure that every option that matches the right name gets the right value on it. So it does it to all of them, which is fine. It'll work. It'll make it build properly. It might overwrite something you want to keep, so you find ways to put it in a comment or whatever, and so you can recover what you need for the time being. And if the option didn't appear, blah, 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 we add it, and there's a clever adding scheme where it sticks it at the top. I might have it add it for basic and advanced, stick it in one file or the other, although that continues to propagate the concept that the one file, well, they're going to be there, so maybe for a while, that's the thing. But ultimately, yeah, I'm kind of like, don't want to propagate that. Keep it going. So yeah, now we've added a thing called fetch example, and Copilot helped me a little with this. So yeah, fetch is a configuration from GitHub, and I use raw GitHub user content, which I forgot was a thing. I keep going to raw git, and I'm like, oh, that's right, they took it down. We can't do that anymore. But raw GitHub user content is still there. So all I'm doing is just pulling down whenever this runs, whatever files are there, and I'm using the curl, or wget fail method. So I did use f, which I know isn't in every version of Python, but I thought I'd try it. So, hey, why not? It's got f, and it does work. Hey. So yeah, it does the thing where it assumes you got the file, and if you failed both tries, then it says no, you didn't get the file. I should just try one and then decide like, oh, this thing, you have curl on the system, so I really should do a check ahead of time to just say, oh, do they have curl on the system? Do they have wget? And then not try both, because once you fail once, it's like, why try again with the other one if they're both there, for example. And it's not differentiating between how they fail. just that it's not 0. Um, so it does that, but so I could do one less fetch there would help. So I'll just do something along the lines of has curl, curl, or maybe use tool. We'll just say equals yeah, wget. I am using Copilot, so it sort of knows what I'm talking about even before I write it, which is really sometimes creepy. Use tool, okay, yes, I want to use tool, wget. So if doesn't equal 0, here I would say else use tool equals use tool equals wget. Even though it's yeah, curl, right? Use tool equals curl. So the robot knows. Yeah, so I want to say I used curl and it was successful, therefore I should continue to use curl. So I would say if not use tool equals curl. We're waiting for the robot to fill it in for me just to see if it can. And so first thing I would do is if not, or I should say just if use tool doesn't equal curl rather. If use tool does not equal curl, and then if I have to say, I should say use tool equals, I don't know, none for the moment. We'll say equals wget, well, I guess it doesn't equal curl, basically. And the same with the other one. It's a little weird way to do it, I guess, but doesn't equal wget. So this is like insisting that I use wget, basically. And then this is so it's basically saying, well, if I failed with curl the first time, maybe it was because there is no curl. So I'll try, and right now use tool is none. And so, okay, use tool doesn't equal curl. So whatever. So if here it succeeds, should say else use tool equals wget. Else use tool equals curl, and then yeah. So it's a little weird way to do it, but it'll accomplish the goal. If you can think of a quicker or cleverer way to do that, especially with I'm just figuring out Python. I just learned about collections, and I'm like, oh, collections could simplify a lot of what I'm trying to do with like getting the structure out of a configuration. If I just take, I mean, the one thing about our setup is that mostly it's based on lines. So if any grouping of lines is a grouping of, can be considered, take that as a collection or something meaningful, because any collection of lines could be a range that is a bunch of things that get enabled together or whatever, that you could collapse in a group or whatever if you were making a view. So yeah, there's interesting things about using collections. Like you can do things like the most common thing in a collection is just a built-in feature. So yeah, there's some cool things about that. And then, so data types, basically it's kind of where I'm going. It's like, yeah, data types, man. All the cool data types, data structures and iterators and things like that. It's like, yeah, So, if you're building something like a semantic tree, which you could certainly do out of this, like, trying to build a semantic tree, say, mirroring the structure of macro world or whatever, the preprocessor in C++, you could imagine the weird ways that would apply using data structures, and you could pick out the right data structures if you're a Python guru. Live stream people, hey, is the idea later to use config.ini to make smaller config H and speed up the build times? Well, actually, one of the cool things is it applies to any starting point. So if you have an empty configuration and configuration ADV file with just nothing in them, as long as the files are there, it'll just insert well, right now it inserts it at the top of. You have to have the config version at least at the top, and that's it, I think. So as long as you have the version and that defined in there, it just sticks them right after that. It's whatever is in there. So it just like even an empty file gets some stuff in it. But what would be cool, the ultimate aim is I wanted to have first use some of what I've got here, which is already extracting the config info to an INI, to also extract all the comments that pertain to each item so that we can pull that into, you know, this is the description, and get rid of the comment structure around it and just say, put it into a blob, have that available, start to sort of type things in our comments that looks a little more like Markdown, because it is Markdown, and it'll end up being converted into, pulled in and used for documentation on the website, which has always been the aim, but I just never had the infrastructure around it to do it, and it was like, I kind of needed something that I could push a button and it would just bring it all together, and I wanted to do it as a JavaScript with one window. You type, put configs here, and over on the other side you have either forms or other things of interacting with it that reflect what you have. So more and more of that is going to come up, because I think it's good to have a visualizer, but having the intermediate form of the data in like a JSON structure or other forms is really helpful to that. So initially, yeah, that's kind of what I already had, was I'm pulling all the stuff into JSON and then turning it into forms, but the thing was it was so specialized to the form stuff that pulling the data out as data was a big hassle. And then where to put it and what to do with it, it was like, okay, well, I dump it into this file, and then what? So building all this structure where it can digest it and start to utilize the data itself is like really helpful. And then bring it into a databases in different forms. Of course, I've discussed SQL and using different agile-based and other similar technologies to build interfaces around that. This is pretty exciting. Jinja 2 templates is mentioned. I haven't really actually looked at Jinja 2, but if the names are also cute if it's anything like Jekyll. But that's what we're using for our build is Jekyll. And the Jekyll stuff is pretty cool. It's just template-based HTML with structure, with YAML data. So it's like, and YAML is just, it's a lightweight XML, lightweight database type structure, key value pairs with, and if you put dashes on them, they become sub-items inside of a larger structure. So you can think of it as a big dictionary within a dictionary. And again, it works perfectly with Python data structures and data types and collections and all that stuff. So yeah, it's it all kind of works out of a piece. The thing that Jekyll is interesting, the very interesting thing about Jekyll, I guess, is that it's built around Ruby, and so there's some Ruby, but you don't see a lot of the Ruby. I built some plugins for it. One to do the search index, which actually loads with the site as one big array. So when you load the site, you actually load the search index, which is just a big array, and it's not that large. It's these days. Why these days, you could load it on your phone and it wouldn't even make a dent. So yeah, and it's basically just a big old array. And so, if you happen to be out of memory, it'll just stick it on your. It gets written to a file on your drive anyway. That's all the caches are. So yeah, just the whole index is right there, and when you search the site, you're searching that file. Yeah, Jekyll has. Jekyll is, well, because you run it from the command line, it seems it may even have some Python elements in it, but I don't think so. I think it really is built mostly around Ruby, and maybe completely around Ruby, but you hardly see it, and that's really the kind of the cool thing about it. So if I actually do pull up a real quick peek at it, of course, you look at it and you're like, okay, well, I see markdown files, okay. And the markdown files, of course, the whole thing is that they have front matter in them, and so it's kind of a YAMLized. So anything in this front matter is YAML. So you can put your usual stuff. It's just key value pairs, and then you can have collections like this. This would be an array that ends up becoming any one of the data types that you would want to digest. If you were pulling it into JavaScript, you would maybe encode everything inside or do something like that. but Jekyll absorbs it. But the one place that you do see Ruby is if you look for RB files, you'll see a couple. Like there's this one, so it's actually a module that does, and it's a filter, and so you start to see Ruby happening. So that's a little Ruby, but it calls into liquid template, and so it's all built around liquid template. But I guess you can swap out different templates if you find ones you like. Um, yeah, what is C++? What's in Python versus having something like a Ruby dependency in Marlin? Well, one cool thing is Ruby is only around the Jekyll stuff, so it's only documentation. So the one cool thing is that we would be jumping all the data, not so much as Jekyll, but just as YAML. So, and then the Jekyll just digests it, but anything else can also use it. So if you had some other thing to generate documentation from that YAML, and pretty much a YAML parser is basically no different from a JSON or XML parser. You run, you import the library, you give it the text that it's supposed to digest, and then it gives you a data structure out. And the data structure in all the three cases will be the same thing. In the end, you'll have pretty much the same data structure to iterate through and generate whatever. But the Jekyll part is cool because it takes care of all of it for you. All the key value pairs get turned into things that are now available in your templates. And you just have to know what the path to that thing is. So the title of this feature request thing is available within this page as just the title. Like if I had this as a .html instead of a .md, like a markdown file gets, the only difference between this and HTML is that this gets run through a parser to turn it into HTML before it gets spit out as the final version of the site. So none of this markdown ends up in the final site. It ends up getting all converted into HTML, and then certain stuff like this little here, that's Jekyll or liquid template stuff, alert warning and so forth. So these are all hints to the liquid templates. So there are things that are hanging around, and there's some weird difference between like we did it for the G-code pages where we had made all the data about the G-codes is here, and all this. Then we made the description, actually stuck it in the body part of the markdown so that it would get parsed in markdown properly. It was just made more sense to do it that way than to make this another field. And it works better. If I did this as another field, it might work, but it's kind of just nice to have it. You go down to the bottom and that's the full description. But yeah, all the stuff about the G-code is expressed here. So actually all of our G-codes are documented kind of by hand. We go in and we enter these things by hand. There's a softer structure for this, like that actually was used to like spit this out, would pretty much not be much different from this. So it's like, okay, fine. But all this can be pulled into a database, and basically that's what a Jekyll site essentially is. Your templates are there to take what's in the database expressed in all this YAML and turn it into content that it gets spit out. So pretty much everything one-to-one that's YAML in here is absolutely used in spitting out the data that gets seen as HTML later. And some parts of it get spit out over and over again. Like every page has like the meta tags out of one of the files and so forth. But the fact that it's all the front matter is YAML based makes it a lot easier. Like it makes more sense most of the time to just say, oh yeah, let's create a bunch of YAML. This is a big old list of who knows how many things, and then we'll just let the automatic, like when you have a page here in this section, it automatically goes to a certain template and gets a certain wrapper around it. And so, it's all done sort of based on where they are. So every G-code page gets a certain wrapper, and then if I wanted to make some of them get different wrappers, I might change it up here. Like I could change like the category or something, and it might have an effect on which template gets chosen. And you can decide that. You can say, oh, I want category to matter, and it'll actually choose a different template. And you just make a little Ruby plugin or get a Ruby plugin that does that for you. And some of that stuff is built in. Depends on what kind of behavior you want. But the one cool Ruby thing I did was the this one where it goes through and reads and kind of creates a site index, but it gets rid of all the common words. I had to come up with like lists of all kinds of words. Yeah, look at this ridiculous list. It's so long of just like what are the most common things that people type that are or that are in the documentation that like you wouldn't want to search for. Like, oh, I want to search for because. Like, there's no reason you want to search for because. um, but yeah, this Ruby here is pretty fun. It's so I just had to sort of get an idea of how Ruby works, and Ruby's nice. All the documentation on it is a little weird, which is fine. It's very zen, man. But yeah, you input down case, all this kind of stuff. Like once something is defined in the language, it kind of like it's kind of nice, and it's one of those languages that, like so many, is like it starts to semantically resemble your style more than its own style. Like it starts out kind of it has basics, but as you build it, it has you don't see as much of the language as you see of your own naming of things. But of course, GSub. These are all. I love regular expressions, I guess, because I type them all day long. But yeah, regular expressions are the way to go. Remember, kids, maybe someday we'll do a thing about regular expressions. But you know, essentially, they're read from left to right, and that's the way they work. There's no like Turing. There is some Turing completeness when you do a star. You're basically repeating something indefinitely or 0 times, but what and to the but it means the thing just to the left of you, and there's no like thing three things back. If you want to do things in ways like that, you put parentheses around them and do pluses on them, and then that means okay, now I can reconsider back here a few times. But that's the structure. Is it's sort of like it's always from left to right, and you just kind of remember the parentheses, I guess, kind of, or the groups and captures. Things like, yeah, there's a lot to regular expressions. You can find videos about them online. I don't know if they're great or good. The way I learned them was just kind of like, I got forced into it by having a Perl website thing that I had to deal with. So I was like, Perl, okay. So for months I worked with Perl. And you can't escape regular expressions when you're doing Perl, because that's what it's in the name, pretty much. I think it's just regular expression backwards, something like that. LREP. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, so we built this whole site is all built in Jekyll and in YAML and in Markdown. So it's very compact in that sense. The one thing I would like to do is take these non-breaking spaces and have them be something smaller. Maybe I could get it to absorb these or something and turn them into non-breaking spaces. But I know regexes are great. Well, the one place I did use them that worked out well was in here, where I had to, initially I thought it was going to be, capture something general, but you end up sticking the actual name of the thing you're looking for into the regular expression. And then the rest of the stuff is just, well, I just want to capture the things around it. So I want to get the spaces before and the word define that came before, and then whatever spaces and other things came after, and then like the comment at the end. And then, so it just captures all those pieces in one nice, neat command. Basically, this one regex does all the things I need to do, find and capture all the bits. And then from that point then you just use match.group, which is a little weird way to do it. I would like to have a shorthand for match.group, if there is one. In Python gurus, let me know. Match.group, anyone? But yeah, so yeah, initially I was giving you a little quick tour of fetch examples. So yeah, using raw GitHub, I fixed up wget and curl, and so basically, yes, now when you put in your config.ini, if you have, oops, that's not it. I was expecting it to open config.ini. Config.ini, oh, okay, I guess it's the mouse-based, weird. Okay, so yeah, now you can put in example or examples, Creality Ender 5. Actually, that's not a correction. You can use either one, and I automatically, if it says example, it makes it into examples for you. One of those things where I'm being forgiving in the script. But yeah, if you put that in, it'll just it'll download that. And then if you say, use base, it'll download this first, and then it'll apply everything that comes after. So it does that first. Yeah, and there's names config colon. Yeah, that was one of the first requests, and of course I thought about it for about 3 seconds and was like, of course, yes, naturally, that makes perfect sense to keep it in config, so I can just look for whatever. The thing then is you could say, oh well, if I want config end stops, I could make a little section for that. Right now it doesn't just look for, like what I should probably do is say use config, like something like give it the option to say config colon star, and it would grab all the configs it finds, basically. But I would be looking for that specifically, and I'd just say, yeah, if it's config star, do this. But right now what it does is it looks for example, and then if it begins with example or examples, then it does the right thing. And I actually had a deal where, which I don't know where it went. I know I fixed this. I always say that if example path fix the example, but yeah, it should be examples. I need to double check and see if I overwrote my changes that I already made. No? Oh, is that that's here, weird. Well, let's fix that right away. Oh, you know what? I think I might have done it ahead of time. No. No? Okay, fine. Do this. Proceed. Equals proceed. Replace. Examples. Examples. Thank you. Thank you, robot. Copilot always knows what I want. That's right. Allow. It even knows what comment I was going to type. I love Copilot. Now, that's just, if it starts with it, but it's not going to be examples, like is not going to show up 3 times inside the path. So being very loosey-goosey, but that's fine. Oh, I did it already in here in fetch example. Oh, you know what? Well, I still need to let it be allow for examples here. So I don't know if I need to do it here. I think we can just say it's fine to do it here because this is where we want to enforce things about how proceed or that field is interpreted. I don't know why I called it proceed. Initially it was all about whether you continued on from this or kept or whatever, but yeah, I'll give it a better name at some point. So use ini, sure. No, maybe use the config. or just configs. It's got the same number of letters as proceed, strangely enough. Seems shorter, doesn't it? Anyway, and then I did this thing where I add these two together. That seems to work out. I allow you to use config base or config root, or both. I guess it's fine. It's just it just combines them, and that's the way I treated that. So if you have all base or root, then it does use root items, all basic, all ADV. So okay, I think that takes care of that. But yeah, basically that's all it does. If you have that as a path, it passes it on to fetch example configs. And then I have a blab here, which this is all for the benefit of the robot, so we'll take it out. We don't necessarily need the script to explain itself that much. It's pretty self-explanatory, Python is. I really like it. So of course I'm using a flag because I want it, in the case of an example download, I just have it use the config from the top. Now one of the things I was thinking was to make this allow for a list, like you could have none, comma, something else. I have to check and see how it interprets that. I've been kind of curious to see what that does. Auto pull. Yeah, so that's kind of the idea, is that right now it's pulling from our repo, but yeah, you could change it to pull from your own repo, or just add that in up here. Make it a, make it a capability here if you were going to say my repo colon, and have it interpret the colon part as being, the repo part. So that would work pretty well, or whatever you wanted to do. Make an HTTP path to your own thing, but it's folder based, so it assumes it's going to find those. It's looking for those 4 files, which is a little obnoxious to us to ping GitHub 4 times for each thing that we're looking for. But oh well. I assume, now that I fixed up the whether it's going to use wget or curl. The thing is, configure it, as long as it looks for configuration H first, we're good, because that's the one that's guaranteed to be there if there is anything. So that gives us our first confirmation, so that helps a lot. So yeah, I like this little. It's kind of fun in Python. Everything's a little mini program. It doesn't feel like you're writing a function so much as a little mini program. I don't know if that makes sense. Got file. So yeah, something like this, OS system. I don't know if you could do this. Where you don't take the value. I guess you can, because Python is like that. You can just simply say this and this goes into the ether, but if you're in a shell or whatever, it'll print out the value. But I assume that's a valid structure. And of course, it's maybe even redundant. There was another thing where you always want to get rid of wgot if it's there. So you just put an F there. And that won't throw an error if it's not there, strangely enough. Side effect or feature? Doesn't throw an error when you type that. So call it what you will. But yeah, at the end you say that basically. So sometimes I think about these strings, I'm like, wget should be more like this instead, because it's more like a token than it is a string, you know? And like, does that send a signal to anyone that that's a token rather than a string? I mean, I know essentially it amounts to exactly the same thing, but semantically or whatever, it's like it feels more like, well, this is like a signal, man. These are tokens, not meant to be added onto or whatever. I would think of it more like if you had an immutable string, basically, as a type. That would be kind of a nice thing to have. Maybe there is something like that in Python, but of course, the way the variables work, it's like unless you're using strictly using a lot of stuff like using prefixes on all your strings, like reverse Swedish notation or whatever it's called. Reverse, I don't know what. There's, but basically, if you're putting the type on the front of all your variables, then it's more obvious what's going on. But if you don't do that in Python, like every variable looks the same. Everything looks the same. You can't tell a collection from an integer from a Boolean. So you really rely on keeping things short and sweet, I guess is the way to put it, and not having things persist too long if you can help it. I don't know if that's a style thing in Python, because I mean, obviously you can build megalithic structures in Python if you really want to. Hungarian notation, thank you. Yes, exactly. You have the type in the variable name, which, you know, is not a bad idea, and I don't know why it's called Hungarian notation. If somebody knows the answer, we can ask. We can always ask Wikipedia where that came from. And might have some interesting side facts for us. And sometimes called Apps Hungarian, as it became popular in the Microsoft Apps division in the development of Word, Excel, and other apps. So yeah, they basically made it a standard inside of the Windows Microsoft Apps division, Word, Excel, and others. So if you go looking at the source code, you might see Hungarian notation. It might be, sometimes it's used with camel case. It's more, in fact, it might be more popularly used with camel case rather than using it with dromedary case, which is what I sometimes call this, but I don't know what else you call it. There's, but you would say b.got file, you know, and then you would use a lot of, you know, you would either have the b.got file, or you would even go that far and have b.got file. But yeah, so you would basically put it on the front of your camel case thing. But as we look at the article, you can see Wikipedia tells us that long, yeah, so it's all very camel casey. So yeah, you can look at it. Relation to sigils, which is a funny thing. Sigils, if you know anything about you know, ritual magic, are something else entirely. Examples: busy, ch initial, c apples. Yeah, interesting things. So character, yep. So basically, you just use right on the front of things. Or yeah, there's your underscore style. Sometimes extended in C++ to the scope of a variable. So you might say global for G. G for global. Yep, makes sense. Yeah, and like when you're talking about something like a somewhat typeless language like Python, there are types, obviously, if something is a string or is a Boolean or whatever. But when you combine them, they're able to, you know, on the fly, they can promote or demote or change types and become different types as needed in ways that you would think are intuitive or sensible. Like it's usually what you want. Kind of like with JavaScript, it's usually what you want. But if you're very explicit in Python, you can avoid all the rigmarole. Use collections, use simple types, and you'll do fine. As far as I can tell, that's the way to go. And if you're going to do any kind of, you know, real programming, you want to keep things organized, obviously, all the time. Random shuffling of things is, fine in your game, but you don't want to random shuffle your code too much. So here I tend to define things ahead of when they're used. That's just by convention. You do a def before you call the def. But yeah, so I guess this looks okay to me. I keep wanting to review this and make sure that that makes sense. But yeah, if it's wget, don't use curl. If it's curl, don't use wget. If we don't know, then try both. And if we never if like I would say basically I could probably bail if it fails to have use tool after the first try. Like basically if got file do this, if use tool after the first try is not one of the two, it's going to be like break. So you could do that right here. If use tool is none, you know what I want? Nope, break. Didn't know I wanted break. Yeah, so but at this point it was something, something, something. So by this point it has to be that. And actually you could say if wget failed at all, at that point you would know. Break. You could break right here. But it's all to save time, but not necessarily, Anything else? So here you might also say something like, print could not fetch. No curl or wget found. Now, at this point, it does just apply the config. It's very atomic. As far as actually running the config, that's a whole separate process. So, yeah, that was pretty fun. So then, yeah, it's basically going to go through it's going to loop through the different INIs pieces. Yeah, here it's continuing to loop through. So yeah, it does that first, of course. That's the first thing you want. And I'm good with that. Okay, I guess I can merge that change in. So this is the scrape those configs, and this is the config itself. I guess I might correct that. Or, let it stand. What the heck? I'm not sure what's failing as far as the script goes. I think I did this minimal configuration, and I think that's probably gonna it's gonna cause some breakage I don't know, as long as these are defined, I don't know. It shouldn't affect these, because these are loose. If it's not like this, they're loose. So I thought I got all the instances, but maybe not. I'll have to look carefully. Anyhow, we are parsing for settings. So yeah, there's a lot of extras in there. That's probably, I feel like that's a little messy, whatever. It's a little messy, but you gotta have all the things to consider. So yeah, if this fails, wget fails. Well, actually, that's actually not true. It's supposed to fail. I forgot. But it's use tool. It's only use tool that's not good. You don't want that to fail. You definitely want this to get set by configuration.h. I'm pretty certain there's nothing that is just a configuration adv.h. There might be something that's just a boot screen.h. I don't know. But that's just one option. I don't necessarily have to keep this. If I don't like it, I can just set it aside. I see the editor is friendly in a certain way. You press down, it does goes to the column, but that's just a tab thing, I guess. Yeah, I'm just gonna let it. I'm gonna assume that there's maybe one config that just has an ADV, because that's enough to screw things up. Someone just decides to do that. It's like, hey, why doesn't it work? Because it assumes you always have this. And it happens when you assume. All right. So I guess we'll just go with the, throw that up. No, I think that goes at the end, because it's like, it's not the existence of that file that matters to the thing being moved or copied or whatever. It's whether or not it succeed, if the curl or wget command came back with a good, happy state. So just removing it at the end is like, well, instead of removing it every time that it didn't get the file, which would just be a 404 file or whatever, I'll just remove it at the end, which is what the other scripts I have do. So it's consistent with the shell script that I have that does this. So it's just like, one at the end is fine. People worry about rm-f, of course, but I think it'll be fine. Oh, you think it'll create wget.1? I wonder. Because I am very specific about saying use wget as the output file. Here, in both cases, wo. So wget is like, I don't think that's anybody's standard. That's just a name I came up with. But so if it did, I mean, if it was a read-only file system, or if they were, the file was busy because it hadn't finished the previous curl and it was in the middle of doing the next curl. So it should be okay. But yeah, it kind of seems like the name that someone would build into a GNU tool, doesn't it, though? It's like, yeah, wget, that's, why not? GNU-got, but GNU-got. I love a candy bar with a lot of GNU-got in it. But yeah, this one here, curl, would probably be called cgot instead, I guess. Curl-got. But either way, hopefully that logic all makes sense. But it does work. I did run it on that particular one, and yep, sure enough, I'll even show you that it does work. Check it out. So if I make this the active ini, it will do the rest of these as well. So if I don't want it to do the rest, if I want it to do a dump, but then hide these, I'll just use hidden as my name there. So if I just do that trick where it brings down this and then only sets config dump and then nothing else, because I specified nothing else, then it should do all the right things. So let's try that. So right at the beginning, so if we go and look at our configs, yep, sure enough, we have the Creality Ender 5 Plus with config dump added because it doesn't have this in any of the files. And then it does all the rest of the stuff. So yep, it works. It's like magic. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. All it does is just yank the double slashes off things, modify the values. But yeah, it works. Um, like magic. So that's pretty cool. You just need to have your internet connection. The next thing would be, of course, to be able to pull it from like your local working copy or something like that, or a directory that you have set up somewhere. So you can have file colon or git colon or something, or just the name of the remote that's currently nearby. And by nearby, I mean, well, if you're working as a developer, you'll have some remotes in your Marlin. From pulling down pull requests, I get all these remotes pop up. So um, yeah, yeah, all these remotes pop up, and of course you got origin and upstream, and then I have one pointing to a file system item, which is this, pointing back to one of my other Marlin firmware, so that I can access while I'm on this branch the stuff from the other branch. And I can also go over to this and modify it with regular old git commands. So trying to get all the things moved over to a newer repo that had a different default branch. And that's been only partly successful because it keeps reverting to thinking that the default branch is the old one. So I don't know what's going on with that GitHub. Don't know where it's getting that info because I updated my fork and this fork, but I think a lot of people's forks still point to still use the old branch as their default. And I don't know if that has some bearing. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, Git has lots of capabilities, but this one global setting screws with things, so careful. And it's not case sensitivity. So yeah, I could stare at this all day because it was so much blah done in my sleep that I'm like, I can't quite believe it came out, but it's also the robot's fault because it did so much of the typing for me. I'm like, oh yeah, the curl, but I did decide on -l.s.s.f here. Apparently, at some point, these were all the flags I needed to get the right output that I wanted. Although it has more to do with the dev null stuff being on here that I get more of the output that I want. But the thing is, it doesn't. If this is a 404 error, it doesn't write the file. Is basically what ends up happening with some of these flags. So, and wget I didn't even check too much. It seems to work fine either way. Anywho, yeah, so that's kind of the one new fancy cool capability that we have going on with that. So getting on with the release stuff, the tricky part of doing release stuff is always getting everything synchronized so that you have everything in there that should be there, and making sure that the configs don't have like stuff that's still underdeveloped from bug fix end up in the configs. So that was one of the last steps I have to do, is go to the configurations, and for import 211 branch, which I'm just brought over as a copy of the import 20x branch, which is bug fix basically. It does a bunch of things that aren't quite done yet, panel do and some others, which is not meant to be a snub to RepRap firmware and duet boards. They're hard to. I've been meaning to get support in there for them, but it's just tricky. Making a new platform or a new HAL for Marlin. There are a lot of steps that go into it. C++ lists in INI files. Interesting. Well, the cool thing with ours, at least, is it's treated like a string. It just takes literally whatever's after the equal sign and spaces and takes the rest and sticks it into a string, and it doesn't care about anything. It doesn't try to parse it or pull it out. So hopefully from there, hopefully it stays that way. At least that's PlatformIO's way of treating INI files. Other systems might do other things, but of course we could also just read it and split manually ourselves and get the same result. So if it was needed, fortunately it's all inbuilt. So yeah, the things I need to just do is replace all these. So I've been using Visual Studio Code to do that because it's actually not a slug at search and replace. It does really well, way better than at this moment with 300 files or 600 files sometimes. It does better than Sublime Text, and it does better than certainly better than Atom, which can't even do replaces of new lines across multiple files. One of its unfortunate things. So what I do is just put it there and replace all, basically. That's gone. And 281 occurrences will disappear like, well, like that. There. It took a lot longer with Sublime because it's doing some kind of synchronous save or something. I'm not sure what's going on. But it takes it sometimes up to a minute and a half to save like whatever these changes happen to be. So I'll just put those in and add them on later. I guess I could have done an amend commit thing, but I'm getting used to that. There's a new amend commit option in GitHub Desktop. Next thing to replace is this. Okay, so that's got to go away. And again, 311. So yeah, it's real quick. So yeah, this is part of the tedium of just doing the release part, is getting this last bit together. There's no way I could maintain two branches side by side through the whole time. It's just better, simpler to just undo at the end, it turns out. So there you have it. Insight and joy of certain aspects of release management. Now, there's some automation I could ultimately, I mean, this is essentially, this search and replace that I'm doing is the automation. You know, it's like this is the level of automation that we have. And I gotta say, in general terms, oh wait, that 313 was bigger number, which implies that the other one was maybe enabled in some of those. So I'll have to double check that this touch LCD was not enabled. I'll probably have to remove the configs that it's enabled in. I think I know what that is. It's CR6SE. It isn't quite there yet. Believe it or not, I know. If anyone wants to help just polish up and get the CR6SE stuff in there, it's based on the community firmware. And I've just been having trouble figuring out how to deal with the changes throughout the firmware that are done to accommodate it. I'm like, I want to keep some and not keep others, but I'm not quite sure which. And it's like, it's always those like little last minute details that get you. It's like, so it sits there for weeks while I'm wondering, like not knowing whether I should change this one little thing. So next, a little replace of that. And we're going to get 2095 out first. That's the goal, because it looks better on the release page if it shows up first before 211, which will show up on the front page. So yeah, I haven't forgotten about those 311 versus 313 things. I'm sure I'll have that in a second. That was dwin, so I'm looking for an instance where this is enabled. 2 instances, I think. Maybe? No? There are none? How can it be? Let's see if there's any instances of it at all. There is one. Oh yeah, okay, it's got the LCD serial port also enabled with it. So yeah, it's the CR6SE. So that one will actually just get removed. Removed. Yeah, this release stuff comes ahead of the Chameleon stuff, which is still pretty interesting. I have notes on that, which will be coming up So this little teaser. This is some of the G code that comes from Slicer that you're supposed to use with your Chameleon. And there's little things you're supposed to change here and there. So these things will become config options for the Chameleon, and the rest will become part of the tool change itself. And so, yeah, these little things where it says C line, G0, all this stuff. All this tedium will be gone and replaced by configuration tedium. So hopefully only a few options will be required. This looks a little bit annoying, and it kind of is in a way, because I have to code this all out in some manner as part of the tool change. So, yeah. But yeah, it's been hard to get to, but I'm doing it. I'm gonna get to it. I will. Um, but yeah, this is all of a piece. So okay, so this one part can go away. So we'll just remove those files altogether. And for now, yeah, I've been playing with the build examples scripts a bit, and documenting these items and stuff. So I guess I'll finish that up later. But yeah, these will just go away. So let's just delete that. Delete. And that's part of this. Yep. Oh, I like amend commit. It does make things a little snappier. Okay, these have to go away. 313, that's our magic number. Now there was still that one other one that's missing. So I remember, was it 311 versus 313, right? And yeah, there seems to still be one. And this is part of, which file is this? I want to say show in sidebar. Oh, switch header source. That's good to know. That's a thing. Oh, there we are. Oh, it is the, it's still CR6SE. Well, we know I removed it, so we can try again. Did I ultimately remove it? Yeah. So yeah, finding those things. There they are. Hey, they are gone. CR6SE. Okay. Next, yeah, figuring out what to change. It's all in the top file, default. So yeah, these have to go away and be replaced by that. So this is actually a case of not just totally nuking something, but actually replacing it with this. And then there's going to be cases where there's different numbers, so this is not going to be thorough. And this is a little annoying because, yeah, I definitely went through this a little before. So the 68, only 68 are the default state. And the rest are going to be all over the place. So if I can come up with a regular expression to get rid of them all, that'll be great. I think I can get rid of the axis rotates part, maybe, more easily. Let's just make this separate. M204 stuff, I guess. I don't know what to call it. But let's get rid of this part and see if we just find places where that's completely removable. Oh yeah, there's 242 of those, 68, and 242 comes out to less than 313, assuming I'm counting up the right things. 242 and 68. Okay. Let's just amend the previous one. I'm getting used to amend. I'm getting used to it. Okay, so there's that. So you can see there's still many cases where the values are. So I think what I might do is just try to remove 2 spaces and see if that takes care of some of what, some of everything. I don't necessarily want to do it everywhere, since obviously there's going to be cases where we already did that. Or may have been more sensible to go the other way around and just get rid of these first, then do the spacey thing, and then do one last sweep to see if everything was there. And rather than going in with the sunk cost fallacy, let's start over. So yeah, let's just get rid of these first. Let's hope that's what I'm doing. I think that is. Nope. Make sure I am doing that. 310 of them. Okay, so there are that's almost all of them, which is good. It gets us really far. So that implies all I need to do is do the space removal stuff, and then there's maybe one that I need to deal with. So let's look for the word, the magic word. Huh, okay. Oh, maybe that we removed a file completely, and that's why there's only 310. Wait, there's supposed to be 313 thingies, though. Maybe it was, so instead of 310, it should be 311. Interesting. It may be that some files are just simply not up to date, and they never had this stuff in them. So like I can again sweep for that. Yeah, there's nothing that's matching. So something was out of date, it appears. So next we simply replace all the files that have this in them. With a bunch of spaces, as it were. So let's say that many. And we'll get rid of one, two spaces. Is that enough? Does that look right? No, actually we're getting rid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like almost 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I'm saying 8 spaces there. Okay, so if I actually had 8 spaces, we'll just do it that way. And that way it's easy. I can just say do that and maybe give it one space just to make things easier. 315 results in 313 files. So something's got a condition on it somewhere. I'm not going to look to see which one. Or am I? I just might do a quick scan because yeah, there's probably some file that has like if you're using a probe, do this. If you're not using a probe, do that. Something weird. And I'm looking for a red 2, basically. I think that should, yeah, there it is. There's 2 of them. So one of them is the Thinker V2. Yep, sure enough, it's got that going on. So, yep, and here you have, that's what's going to get replaced with. Interesting. I would have to say maybe I put some more spaces in my search and replace here. That's better. Yeah, that one I wouldn't. That would seem to have its never got replaced because it was structured weirdly, and I've never found it in my previous journeys. So I'll remember that one though. The Thinker. Thinker. All right. So the same with these. Tedious but true, but at least they're faster in this editor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1 for good luck. And that gives us another 310. That's a good number. Yeah, it's not exact science. This is computer science, kids. writing a script to do this would be computer science, but okay. Yeah, instead of writing a script, let's just, oftentimes what you end up doing, this is one of the keys of regular expressions as well, is that they're really powerful and they're awesome tools. But if you try to do everything regular in a regular expression magic, uh, you may get bogged down or stuck. And oftentimes it's better to just use the looping and comparing features of your language and not try to make the most clever regular expression in the world to do everything. So now I'm just going through and tediously looking at each and every one of these for a tenth of a second. I wish it was a tenth of a second, but to make sure nothing looks anomalous. Anomalous. Of course, as I do this, GitHub is going to reload because of its weird root or base branch problem. I saw something funky there. Oh, that was just these being shorter or closer. Yeah, some of these have an extra line. See those weird little details. Yep. Remove that extra line, okay. It's throwing me off. Right, so I was like, I don't know, here-ish, somewhere. So yeah, as I zoom on down, this is about, oh yeah, there's another one. Hey, what was that? Oh, that's just removing the line, which is what we want. An extra red line. And if I were to show, like, maybe hide the white space changes, it would probably look neater. This one has a little extra comment on it, which is fine. You're allowed to do that. This is one of the things that would be lost, though, is if everything goes to, config.ini modifying a template or whatever, like all these colorful comments that people are adding to their configurations might get lost. So that's some of the stuff I'm hoping I can preserve in some way, like as an extra annotation or whatever. But, how do you specify where it is in the file? Or I guess you just attach it to the option itself and let it float with it. And then, don't worry about how they typed it in, but preserve the markdown, I guess. So that all looks good to me. As far as I can tell, mention of axis 4 rotates is there, but it is not used in parentheses. Right. So good, yeah, that takes care of that. So that removes most or all incomplete features. I think that takes care of that and that and that. Yep, and then if we look at the ADV, we've got this one. Oh, this may be different. It's not one we've done yet, I think. Yep, sure enough, we still have this one. Same deal as last time, which, boring as hell is what it is. 280 of these, so there's another 20 I gotta deal with, which are either not up to date. Oh, wait. We're talking about the ADV files. So I think there's 280 something ADV files. We've already done one of them. I think it was 281. So I think that does take care of all of them. But that's easy to confirm. How many ADV files are there? You can easily find that out, but I believe it's 281. And so now the only thing is to take care of the outdentation of this one line here. So again, we're dealing with a line like this with some number of spaces afterward. We'll say 8 and an extra one for luck. And is it actually 8 that we're moving over? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like we're only moving over 6 for this particular line situation. So yeah, right. Let's take 2 off. And again. So 282 of these. So there are actually 2 files which were not accounted for in the first, or 1 file not accounted for in the first run. But there may be 2 instances of the in 1 file. No, it's one per file, according to that. So there's something missing about one of these. Maybe it just doesn't have spaces. It was probably probably related to the one we already looked at. And then we got the same thing with default min feed rate here. Min travel feed rate. Here we only have a certain number of spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's interesting. Make sure I understand this right. Oh, I see. It's actually got more spaces afterwards, however. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 after its value. Well, let's see. Well, actually, that is not a change. Let me see. Did I get that wrong? Oh no, I think I have it right. I think I got it right. Hold on. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we may be going after, yeah, we're still moving to the left 6. I reckon. Just wanted to make sure I understood this quite correctly. All right, 280 of these. Well, we'll see what the anomalies are soon enough. So yeah, like this one. I don't know what's going on with this one. Oh, maybe that's already done. So enough of that. Anomalous. They look good to me. I'm not seeing any issues, but yeah, going through as many as this, it does, add up, of course. That one looks fine as well. That never got altered. Ones that never got altered are just here and there. Try real hard. Try real hard to make sure everything gets updated. But it ain't always that easy. When you're dealing with 600 plus 5. Again, this is like, this will get broken down to about half if you got config.ini. Now, I did run, one of the things I did recently, yesterday, as part of my fun, was run the build all configs, or build all examples script. And that was the whole, let's see how well this thing can handle all that. And I added some flags to it so it could copy the resulting INI into the config pile, so it would actually back it up after it did everything. And then I was going to run it again using a blank config, and then get the result of that, because it actually have got some more stuff getting stripped out when you don't have, like there's some extra access stuff that was getting thrown in. Didn't need that. Let's make sure I got rid of this. Looks like I did. I think I must have gotten rid of drilling cycle at this point. Well, I must have, because it's in this one. This one I got to get rid of. There we go. Goodbye. 281 of those. And this line goes away. $280 of those. So we got to see how many of these. Again, some of these just didn't get updated, and so never got these in the first place. So no G0 angular feed rate to be found. None of those. No drilling cycle. Yeah, so anomalies will be there, but as long as it's close in number, I feel pretty good. And if I go searching randomly, eventually I'd run into the one that wasn't complete. What the heck? All right, so that takes care of preparing 211. But I'm getting ahead of myself, because 2095 is the belle of the ball, the first thing that needs to be dealt with. And we'll just make sure that nothing got lost in there. Okay, good. I feel pretty good about that. Next. So now we got to do the import for 2095. That comes from import 20x. And this, only a couple things have been tweaked in the configurations. Like we brought in, all the configs have the Delta stuff in them now to kind of just make them unified in that way. There was a change in bug fix 2.0 to use the defined axis or driver type as your driver type, or to determine how many axes there are. So simplified in that sense. Not much else. Comment change there, and then some indentation changes here, and yeah, comment change. So yeah, nothing major between the last version 2094 and 2095. Of course, we bumped the version. So yeah, the only thing is I need to compare now with the release version 2.0x and see that these configs match up. So what I'll do is go to Marlin and set this aside for build all examples. Am I still doing this? Am I still doing this? I'll put that there, and I won't push it, I promise. Let's see. What we need is 20x, which I've been slowly updating, and that is not actually the tag for 2095. Ignore the tag behind the curtain. When it's actually 2095, it'll get a version on it and stuff in this file. Right, so you could do that, for example. That's where those will be. I know I'm taking these by hand, but each one's going to have to get closed afterwards, and anyway, that whole conundrum. So it is the 23rd of July. So yeah, I guess I'm going to do it here. So why not before? Here we go, to just on the version files. Yeah. Make sure those are set up with the version. So yeah, and then I just say 2095 and set this up to be ready. I gotta check for last minute patches and do a quick scrub of maybe the bug reports to see if anything is like obviously dumb, dumb typos, whatever. And just make sure those are all fixed up before the final, you know, pulling the lever. Also, getting all the release notes together does take a bit of time. So we just have to deal with that. And I like to use this icon, this here thing. And that's where I would put the tag. Just have it here and ready to go. I thought about doing a separate branch for each release, so you have a kind of a pure head with a branch where the head is the release tag. I may consider that. It would just be more branches to have to slog through when you're checking out Marlin and stuff, though. That's the thing. And I'm not sure how well the histories will all line up, but at least it would give a kind of a snapshot, which would be kind of a nice thing. But I have those branches myself, and they're easy to synthesize if you wanted to put them in your own repos. So I don't know, try it out. But this was an unfortunate bug that was in there for a little while with the mesh values not being reported right. So some of the plugins for mesh values would give you weird results. So 2095 will be recommended for all users. There's a lot of fixes in it, and that's its main thing. Is it's got a lot of good patches and things fixed up. Same with, and it's meant to be the kind of final version of 2.0, but there'll be future patches as you know small bugs are fixed and stuff. So I consider it long-term support, as it were, in the sense that anybody could continue to extend on it and fix things, and if they're good patches, we'll continue to put them in for years to come for people who think the 2.0 was the best version ever. As 2.1 gets different and changes over time, it's going to be less and less recognizable compared to 2.0. And so, having this snapshot in time is why not now, right? It's pretty good, and it doesn't have the extra axes in it yet. And well, it's got six out of 9, so it's that kind of cutoff point. Bring in a few more axes, a little more complexity, boom, and then go from there. And we're looking at all kinds of rewrite kinds of concepts, get more break timers up into something more abstract, so we can split up stepper behavior into more abstract chunks, and there's all kinds of approaches one can take, and it's time-based planner, that kind of thing. There's a lot to learn and play with and figure out as we go. But yeah, I'm working on it, working on all these things. But right now it's about the release, so more coffee, more caffeine. Had some good coffee. All right, so 2095, yeah, comparing it to 20x, so we need to bring that up. And then configurations, make sure I have import 2095. So I'll just basically create this as a copy. I'll call it import 2095, and that's good. There is no such branch yet. And what you do is I do mfconfig manual. And all that does is takes my stuff from my current Marlin and compares it with my current config. So also I'm supposed to say, I don't know if it matters, but I'll say import dash 2095. Oh, and I was in the wrong folder. That's got a lot to do with it. Just so it checks out the right version. So let's do that. Okay. So, certain things we do want to keep. Well, one is I noticed that 2094 is the current version in the Marlin bug fix branch, which is interesting, or the 20x branch. So I definitely need to make sure to bring that over from bugfix 20x if it hasn't been brought over already. So let's do that. And I will mix this right on in with this. Or not. Yeah, might as well. It's all part of it. It's all of a piece. So if I go back here and I do it again, it's forgiving. It'll just copy over the newer one. So yeah, all kinds of things have happened. So yeah, the Delta stuff. Is that all not in bugfix 2.0 either? So yeah, there's certain things I'm like, oh, okay. I brought them over to bugfix, but I didn't bring them over to 2.0, which makes a certain sense. But it's also like, was I working on the laptop? Certainly not. So let's just go back to Marlin and make sure that this is kind of the step by step. Okay, so what else didn't I bring over? Oh, I didn't bring over the thing about this one, config parity, right. That's important. Right. So back to configs, back to manual. Ready to it? No, not what's gonna happen here. So okay, now it's matching up better. So okay, that is clearly, can't believe bugfix or 2.0 doesn't have that patch in it yet. Let's see if it does. I'll go back to Marlin, back to bugfix 2.0x, and I will look for this line. And sure enough, this is patched when it was from the fix and improve inline laser power, which I don't think I'm bringing over to bugfix 2, which is why it isn't in the other. So I just have to do it manually. Fine. Let's see. Oh yeah, you see the laser test pulse stuff is not in there, even though it is in bugfix. Interesting. I'm wondering if I should bring over stuff from bugfix, just all of it. I mean, that seems to make the most sense. Let's see, but that was the laser. Let's check it out. There it is, inline laser. And up. Something else is not there yet. It may be related to the 9-axis. No, it's not going to be related to 9-axis, because if it's in here, it's already set. Let's just get that worked out. Yeah, there's a few things that are in strange order here. Well, let's see what kinds of complaints it's giving, and that'll give us some clue. So one of the things it's saying is improve laser power. This is the new stuff here. Old stuff here. And what it's basically saying is something up here is changed after or in some relation around the same time. And it should be down in here. And as I'm looking at it, I'm seeing that's nothing obvious. Maybe this value byte got changed for some reason. It's hard to know right offhand. Let's see, U power, value float. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. Let's go back and look at, well, that particular line actually, this particular file even. This file's history. Fix some parameters without values. That may be part of it. Let's see if I can just cherry pick it into. This will be cleaner than trying to find it. So we're in Marlin. We want to go to 2.0, and then I'll just cherry. Whoops. Okay. Strange that it showed that. No. Git cherry pick. Oops, cherry. And keep things short. Conflicts, but maybe not as many. Fewer. Okay. As I look at this, I see that's something that doesn't need to be part of it because it's already been dealt with up here. Right? Oh, it's I-axis codes. Wait. It's a different thing. Let's just keep them together for now. Continue that cherry pick, please. Okay, let's see what it ended up doing. It looks like a lot of things got helped by this. And nothing controversial here. Good. That was from April 17, if you can believe it. So we'll just make it the earliest. The earliest. Okay, and now get that laser thing and see if that works for us now. Laser. Thank you. More conflicts. Always more conflicts. It's got to come up with a better name for that. Controversies. Let's see, this was has y-axis wraps these, fixing improved laser power. This is true. Does something else change here? Target.e? I'm not seeing anything particularly. Again, sure, that makes sense. I can see obviously these go away because UVW doesn't belong in this version at all. So that's like probably an oversight in the bug fix 2.0 version as well. I'll have to double check that. We can't have that. It may have been fixed afterward. Anyway, let's see what this has got. Sync flag, but it also has the other things going on. That's interesting. So this one always has a sync block or a sync flag on it. Seems maybe that's appropriate. Again, I can always undo this. So here we know block reset is correct, and flag apply sync flag or flag equals sync flag. That's the question. It looks like maybe apply is more appropriate here because it's part of the refactor, but we can triple check later. Again, reset, refresh. Yes, that's true. I did call it refresh at some point. Just checking on these. Like this is a little more complicated. This gets a little more complicated here. I feel like this happened. Something else had to have happened earlier. Let's go back. Abort again. Yes, abort, please. Go back to our bug fix 2 and double check when this file changed. Split move. Well, that came out and that came out. So let's try these. not. Maybe not. Okay. Why am I still on the bug fix 2.0x branch? That's what I want to know. Or semicolon, please. Okay, so that's nothing. Already been done. Returning back to that history. I need to go back to that history. Where is it? Let's see if that matters. Maybe. Remove split move, true. These are identical. That is strange. They're identical, but I guess fine. One came from one place, another came from another, I guess. And is the same deal here? That'd be strange, but so be it. Yeah, it's behaving a little weird, but that's just a client, and it didn't matter because nothing changed. Okay, so that doesn't appear to matter. Let's see, we already know we got that in there. We know we got that in there. Polar graph, that was one that is fine because it doesn't make any changes to configs. I'm like, if it doesn't change the configs, that's fine. And also it'll be up to date with the documentation as we update that. We do have a version there. That's not getting added. Well, that also did, I think, that came in because that no harm, no foul there. I would just basically say let's do a diff and see what the diffs are. Because I just want to get that laser stuff in there, man. It's the main thing. I want to get the laser stuff. Come on. Let's see. So the last stuff that went in was around July 14. So let's take that as a clue and just see. The whole EXP pin things. I do know I had to follow that up with another one. And that's pretty vital. So let's see. Head had this, but the Redux had this. Well, I kind of have to go with what's in bug fix 2.0 and check carefully. See how that looks as cherry picks go. SKR Mini E3 V3. rascal. Right? Right? Okay, yeah, definitely important stuff. This should definitely be pushed because it just neatens things up and also fixes some of these comments which were screwed up by my first attempt. And having them in the right order is nice. So yeah, this clearly needs to be part of this. Eeks. Already done? Tell me it's already done. No? Oh, maybe neither of those are done. What? I don't know. Let's see. Renumber. I feel like if I keep the newer renumbered stuff, I can't go wrong, right? But wait, where's the actual display pins? You may be asking, and that's a good question. Let's see. Shouldn't there be some place where it says these pins equal those pins? Oh wait, is this including another one? No, no. Where is it? Reality v4. Well, I think if I was renumbering stuff, then I would have been renumbering it based on what was already there, and therefore I wouldn't want to molest these because they're not using that same schema. I.e., this is behind in some sense. I mean, I could look at how this has been modified in the other fork and see if it's better, if it's in better shape. But yeah, my recollection is a little hazy about that. Same here, renumber. So clearly these are being renumbered properly. 4 becomes 7, 5 becomes 6. 2 becomes 9 becomes 2, and 5 becomes 6, and so on. Now that's presuming everything else got renumbered along with, you know. And I do see these are reversed, and therefore that must be the case. But these are still in forward order, which may just be coincidence. We must go with what we've got in front of us, though. And Emotronic, which I don't think was even included yet. So Emotronic, I guess I should be adding that. And now we have this. Oh, we're here again. And again, I feel like, what? Oh, wait, are these it? I just don't know. It feels strange that these don't seem quite right. something else has been going on with Creality v4 that I need to check out. But what? Yeah, see here we've got, okay, XP pins. But yeah, there's something has had to have been applied to this file before all that other stuff came in. So I can't just, I cannot accept the results at the end of, although it's nice that I have these in and mostly there. Nope. I have to basically undo what I just did, which brings us back to, I don't even know where it brings us back to. There. Okay, so let's take a look and see what happened to that file in the 20x branch. Looks to me like it just hasn't had much of a history. Oh, come now. Sure, I mean, now you've got that, but before that, ream number, okay. I see, yeah, nothing much happened there. Looks like only the headers got changed because it didn't have the pins in it. Is that possible? But no, certainly it did have the pins in it. So yeah, it's a bit of a mystery. Let's see, let's take a look down here. Yep, so it does have the XP headers. That's bug fix 2. Prior to this, however, like looking at the history, they were still there, sure enough. Oh wait, maybe this is the one, CR200B. So let's copy that in and bring it over to 2.0. Please, let's make sure this one of these helps it out here. Hey, we have success. All right, now it's starting to all come together. Good. See if this comes in without a hitch. No. Oh, I still have emotronic. Emotronic. Fine. Where are you, you bloody emotronic? Let's just go get the commit number of emotronic. Starting to fade. I think it's time to order burgers. Order veggie burgers. So sure enough, there's emotronic. And yep, we need to bring it in, apparently. Monster 8, what happened there? Let's find out. I think it got split into some new versions, so that may have something to do with it. And there's some conflict. Looks like, let's see, yes, Monster 8 gets a new number. Then there's ETV4, Cheetah. Looks like Index Rev 3. Oh, that was removed as part of removing some other stuff, I think, maybe? Not sure. That does still exist in the pile, so maybe that's a new addition, I want to say, or got moved in some way. We'll have to look at that. But yeah, the monster, as it's being added, there is no index rev 3 at that point. So yeah, one of the things was dropping support for certain motor drivers, and that probably has those motor drivers. So it's a question of whether to do that or not. Pretty sure I'm not going to drop support for L6470 because it's a big config change again. So yeah, it's definitely still in there, and I think index is probably one of those files that has that, but I will double check. With bugfix 2.1, we can easily check and see in this file range, this line range, what happened there. Oh, it got a new name. Okay, well that simplifies things a little, maybe. Let's see if it needs that. Not sure. Okay. Looks like it's coming somewhere after the monster stuff. No, it's there in both of these cases. So yeah, well, if it's in both cases, that means it's already done, right? Yeah, it's already there in bugfix 2. So I just need to, I guess I need to bring it over to 2.0. I don't know. Nope. Maybe it's already done there too. Nope, something is different. What? Oh, test builds doesn't exist. Do not include. Interesting. I guess there was an extra hijack, or what do you call it? A stowaway. Little stowaway change on there to another file. So yeah, that's interesting. Optolumen Rev 3. Okay, good to know. When was this from? This was from July 16. And this was from way back in June 29. So we'll just get these in order so that they have some semblance to what they came from. Or resemblance, if you will. Okay. That brings us much closer, and then I guess that means finally I can renumber the pins. Let's find out. One conflicted file, monster 8. Oh right, we still have the monster thing to bring over. Okay. What? Something else needs to come in first. SEBX. Wonder if that involves any major changes. The SEBX, there you are. Ah, well, it has some boards, some pins, all good to me. All right, and that is from July 4. No wonder I forgot all about it. Such a party day, woo! Freedom. All right, so let's get the EXP pins. Oh, still monster. Something else got done beforehand. Look at that. Renumber. Looks like the only difference is these had been moved in some sense. I think I probably just made that one small change somewhere along the way. Okay. As long as it has integrity. It's all good. As long as those pins have changed. Yep. Okay. And then the redux, because that was a little bit of a kerfuffle. Not really. It was meant to be in two parts. It makes more sense, actually. Trust me, it makes more sense. Because in the first instance, you see the pins haven't changed, just the numbers, and then in the second instance, you see that they're rearranged. But without changing the numbers, of course. But combining them together would look interesting, I suppose. It's about the same. 6, 1, 2, 4, 7. Like these parts are fine, and then these parts all just go floopy. 129 is way down here now. Why? But yeah, at least you can tell. All right, so that is well established in there, and that was from around July 16. And then we set up config parity with 2.1 with the delta stuff and other things. Indentation. Did all that, and yeah, I think we're getting pretty close to having a workable 2095. I just have to do again a little more comparison with bugfix 2.0. Let's do that real quick. Get diff. We'll just do it straight up with a get diff head bugfix 2.0. And we'll see what we're missing. So at this point, 190 changes, so something. Well, oh, get refresh acceleration rates stuff. The laser stuff. Oh, that's right. I was going to do the laser stuff. That was kind of the whole point at a certain point there. So let's go back to. I think I was going to bring that over to bugfix 2.0. Or it is on bugfix 2.0. It needed to bring it over to 2.1. Good. It's one less bit of hassle to have to redo all that. There it is. Fix and improve inline laser. So let's try and bring that over to 2.0 and see. Planner stepper may not be ready yet. Something else needed to be done first. And that was unknown. Let's see if these lines went away, because they shouldn't be in bugfix 2.0 at any rate. Yeah, so these lines are still just hanging around. Let's see if they went away in bugfix 2. Oh, they wouldn't have gone away in bugfix 2.1. So yeah, these have to just go away, man. They are not supposed to be there. Also, that was a bug anyway. I saw that. Anywhere else? Nope, there's one. Right. And those came from probably something along these lines. Not sure where and when, but here we are. multi-stepper based on drivers types. Yeah, so that was part of that. So just keep an eye out for those. But most of the time I got them. I got them. But yeah, it was one that was missed. So that's a follow-up to this 2410120, we'll say. Yeah. Innocuous title. Just general cleanup, basically. Yeah, I saw this little glitch before too. I had cleaned it up somewhere. It's the problem of having too many branches to manage. It's like, it starts to lose a little track. Can I push this now? No. Darn it. Why can't I do that, GitHub desktop? All right, so this is our 2.0. And yeah, then I'll go back and do more comparison with the configs again and fix them up when we get to that point. So now we're still, what was that difference? What was all them differences again? Let's do a quick git apply, see what we're missing. Right. All kinds of cleanup to M665, for example. So I do want it to match up with bug fix as much as possible. So one way to do that is to use my mfprep script, which I probably ought to do anyway. So let's bring that up. And in this case, you mention the version you want to compare with. There's like I've actually created a tag for this purpose, and I just say 2.1 basically, or no. I might not have it set up right to deal with the two branches I want to deal with. I'll have to double check here, but Sublime, oops, what? Which mfprep? So yeah, find commits in 2.1 that are not in 2.0. So what I really want to do is do this for 2.0, and I wanted to check out bug fix 2.0. So again, everything that says 2.1 should say 2.0 here. And then I think if I just make those mods, it should work. Yeah, I'll fix it up. I'll fix up the script later. So then it's looking for a tag, which is marking at the last point. So it'll be a 2.1 tag on the 2.0x branch, and there'll be either a dev dash or a bf dash 2.1 tag on the other that marks where it was last in sync with the release. So by comparing these two, I can get a script out that looks like this, with all the commits that are missing from one to the other. Now this is obviously way wrong, because it's trying to go, that's starting at the wrong point. If I regenerate the script, sometimes that, if I do it a second time, sometimes that actually works. I don't know why. Maybe not this time though, we'll see. Oh yeah, it's really long. Okay, so I may need to put a branch or a tag in the right place. I think I may be looking for dev and I'm using bf still. Yeah, look at the dev dash. Let's have it look for bf. BF. Yeah. Yeah, sure, I'll say it there too. Why not? All right, try again. Here we go. Oh, nope. I don't know what it's looking for. Let me check my, maybe I don't have the tag set. I should, but I may not. But yeah, no, there is, oh, you know, 2-1. What was I thinking? Right, 2094, right. If I'm changing everything else, I gotta change that. But yeah, it's looking for, just marked as 2094 on the bug fix branch, which is interesting. It may be that I took bug fix and actually it's synchronized with 2094 itself, so they're actually the same. So if I do a git tag here, I should have 2 on there. And I think I have to say the right thing, 2094. See if it put a tag there or not. The acon to swat. Here we go. Yes, good, because that's what we need. Oh, way to put it there. Well, I guess it's on both now. Again, if it's on one and they share a history, then it's going to be on both because it applies to the, yeah. Okay, good. Well, in that case, supposedly this will be all fine and dandy. Oops. Where'd it go? Let's try that again. All right. Ah, that's much better. Repurpose as bug fix for 2094. Okay, well, clearly. So look at all these things that seem to be not there, but anything that doesn't have a an ID on it like this is going to be suspect. So all these sus things right here, 9-axis follow-up, no, probably don't need that. Types H, macros and fields, I don't know. For what? Oh, that's interesting that I would have a 9-axis follow-up in the bug, even in the bug fix 2.0 branch. Let's see what that says. And I'm cherry picking it over to 2.0 because, okay. Nope, already there. Whatever it is. So yeah, a lot of these are going to be already there, or they're going to be, oh, that one's fine. It took it. Next. Okay. So yeah, apparently it's my little script is more reliable than I expected. Okay. Good. That one we would definitely expect. Okay. Well, good thing I have this, because trying to do it the other way around, where I'm comparing and then hunting and pecking was not going to work out so well. So this is, oh, I took out the, I did take out a field and populate block. Pretty sure. It may be that that got lost somewhere along the way. I'm not sure. But yeah, these, I think that is correct. Planner flags refactor. Okay, well, probably because I pulled in something out of order. Git add, git cherry pick continue. Okay, let's see what that looked like. Okay, got that out. Nothing major. Okay, that's just changing the flags a little. No biggie. But yeah, this is bug fix 2.0 stuff, so trust it or don't. Okay, next on the list. Right, that was one of the things that was definitely missing. That's good, that's clean. I'm liking that these are clean. Most of these are pretty separate from each other. Little not too complicated things. Stack protector on the simulator. I'm surprised I didn't bring that over earlier. But because I've been playing with that simulator, I really love that thing. Just want it to look really cool and shiny. Show like an actual 3D printer just for the heck of it. But yeah, it's OpenGL and SDL based, so that's a little more complicated in there to bring over to import a model and have it have nice textures and stuff. Need a good importer. Good 3MF importer would be nice. Because it's easy to get 3MFs of models out of like, I think you'd even get them out of some slicers. Monster V8 V2, okay, I think I already brought that in. Let's go and check it out and see if I did. Monster 8, hello. Okay. Strangely no, but maybe it comes in at an earlier time. Let's check the date on that. Maybe if let's see, it's got to be fairly recent, right? Yeah, there it is, July 11. So if I could try and just take this commit and stick it into the history. It's one of the tricks that sometimes works. It's like, okay, well, if I can't get it to work right where I'm trying to put it at the end, maybe I can stick it in right around July 11 and it'll work. So let's see, maybe if I go back to, I don't know, right after the big tree SEBX or something. Head 20, I don't know. Far back do I need to go? Looks pretty far back. Let's try 25. Where's that BX? Even earlier than that, huh? Okay, let's try 30. There you are. So I'll just stick it in here, pick this commit, and then do the rest. Nope. It doesn't like it there. So yeah, that's not always gonna work. What? You don't want that until after you've done the common order. So I think these are correct here. When was that done? So yeah, it gets a little tricky to try and do those things. There it is, came after that. So maybe after that it would be a good place to do it. Let's try that again. Stick it right there. Doesn't like like that either. Same deal. Now it's saying Monster 8v2 is interfering with that is what I'm doing, but it's already been changed by that point, which makes sense. Of course it has. But what is being changed? Is it just the spacing of the -1s or something? Let's take a look. Just see what the heck is contentious in that commit anyway. V1, V2, but then there's the common one. Well, it does get moved. And then it doesn't have the, it has some EXP pins, but they've been, oh, I see they have been moved over. Well, okay, maybe that's something to do with it. It's just that the fact that it's molesting these pins here. 4, 5, 9, and 5, which haven't been changed yet in terms of order. So if I was bringing that over into here before the XP order, pin change order, it's kind of where you'd want it to be, is somewhere before here. But when this is changing, apparently changing the Monster 8 board that wasn't moved yet. And it may be that I did that, I put this in too early. That's what's going on. I think it's these. So I say put them in before. Let it have the old pins, which is 4595, isn't it? No, it's 7626 is the old pins. Or is it? No, it's 4595. So this would be for the, that's the thing, is I don't know what it's complaining about, whether it's complaining about the thing that follows or this one. I feel like if I do this, it should be good. Right, because it doesn't even complain on the second time around. So let's go to common order, Monster 8, common. And make sure those pins are changing. 4595, 7626, yep. So that's good. That's what you want. Okay. I haven't pushed any of this, so none of it counts. All right, at this point we are very close. We just got to get these last few in here. Fix and update the make file. And that is going again into 2.0. Good. Next, we did do the configuration version 2.095. I'm almost certain. Almost. Oh yeah, that's right, we mixed it in with the other things, so yeah, all good. The renumbering of pins is already in there. Yes. Just doesn't have that same title. Holograph. So this might introduce a, nope, nothing new there, so we're all good. And finally, the MF test default flag, just because you never know when that'll come in handy. And then use example configs. I want to make sure I didn't change this in some way that it's specific to. Yeah. So yeah, it's just basically it notices what your branch is and behaves appropriately. So good. And again, this is from July 16. I guess after polar graph, you could say. Yeah, so rearranging these is all free up until I go and push them. But yeah, now I need to just make sure again that the configurations are all happy and in parity with this. We've already done a little cleanup, but we have to do the proper final thing. So let's do manual import 2095, yes. And see where we stand. And look at that, everything matches up. So the configs are ready. Don't have to do nothing. That's great as far as 2.0 goes. Just have to say init and then do release -2095 and they will be there. Here we go. And we're off to the races. Great. Looking good to me. I'm liking it. Okay, that brings us back to release 2095 is fairly well completed. I'm looking carefully. I see this is different. Let's see when this happened and where this applies from. And I'm going to look at bug fix particularly. Okay, so it doesn't actually have it. Let's take a look at 2.0x. And no, it doesn't either. Okay. Meanwhile, configurations. Yeah, sure enough, it's getting that from somewhere. It's from the Migbot config maybe. So yeah, some of these configurations may just be a little out of date. Not all by any sense, but yeah, that's what you have to check. All right, so certainly they all say that. I want to know where this comes from. Like the axis rotate stuff is not belong, so yeah. Examples, customizations, okay. Well, of course it comes from that, wait a minute. Cut that out. Import 2.0x first off. Okay, you've got a lot of those, apparently. 314 of them. Yeah, it's meant to be fixed up in terms of the yeah, configuration updates, cleanup. Yeah, I might have brought that over from 2.1. That's why it is like that. But yeah, it should not have had those in it. So let's undo this a little bit. We'll just call that, doesn't need an explanation, just needs to be fixed. I don't I may just take this out and leave the rest because everything else seems fine. I'm pretty sure. But let's take a close look and we'll double check. Or import 2.0. So yeah, this doesn't change the comment too much as far as that goes. Defines the access code that's used. And yeah, it already says, you know, whatever. And as long as the comment is close to what it already says in the other config, it'll be nicer, I guess. So let's remove access rotates comment. And we'll just call that a documentation change. And that being the case, I guess changes configuration.h for our default in bug fix as well. Which it is. Apparently I already did that somewhere, somehow. What? Nope. The hell? What the hell? I guess if you're trying to prove a negative, that's what you get. That's a thing. All right, sure. Yeah, that reloading thing, man, I tell you, I don't know how to work around it. I did a couple tries with like changing the repository remote, and that would work for a moment, but then it stopped working. Didn't do the trick anymore, so oops. Right. Good enough. I don't like to change the configs too much because it means changing all the configs. It's a little annoying to have to do that every time, but that's life. Onward. Okay. How close are we now? Close, close. We need this to get into 2095 now. Yep. I see. Keep the commits as few you want the same commit IDs if you can help it. So now import 2095 can be redone as release. Just to create a cleaner version. Meanwhile, back over on Marlin, we're comparing 2.0 with bug fix again, and we'll make sure that we've got most of that parity sorted out. And we're down to 100 or so thingies. Okay, so these comments changed. Let's find out when that happened. And when did we miss that? That's going to have a lot of commits in it, so that's worth checking out right away. Yeah. Fix and adjust warnings, all right. Somehow that got missed. All right then. That is clean. That was from May. Whew. May, baby. All right, so backward to May 22nd. April, 7 days ago. All right, fine. Keep it where it is, I guess. It's very close to the bug fix, so it's like, you know, it started out being right in parity with bug fix, and then little by little, all the things that are not marked here have been pushed, and so it's out of order with bug fix, but it has most of its contents, obviously. And now we're on to another diff. Oh, down to only 11 changes. Great. So one of them is this. Clearly that's going to be changing. Over there on bug fix. That is definitely new. The pre-flight check stuff. I will double check that. When did that change? I know something about that. Clearly we're not going to be using that. Ah, yes. Why isn't that over here yet? Didn't I just do that a second ago? Meanwhile, yeah, these need to be, that's already sorted. Interesting. I need to undo whatever that I-axis codes change was over in bug fix. So note taken. Meanwhile, UBL motion, I just did a little cleanup on this. SDIO. And let's not worry about version. Yes. And yes, the README will differ. Okay, so yeah, let's investigate where these come from. Last change this was here. Maybe all that's needed. I meant to say to get checkout, you know. Oops, okay. Something is not quite matching up. Mm-hmm. OS remove. So that's all I have in here? Oh, well, that's because I'm looking at the wrong branch. Still. Let's see if that's needed. Nope. Okay. Well, I'll just let this be ugly, I guess. Next investigation is utility. When did this change? Multi-axis updates, parameter values. Maybe it's this. Remember that showing up somewhere else. Right? What? How'd that happen? Codes. Well, it does only exist once here, so not sure. But let me see what it is on bug fix on 2. Oops, on 2. It looks about the same. Oh, it's not. It's got this though. It's got this. Yeah, that's not right. That's not right. Yeah, all this got messed up somewhere along the way. Swear I've been totally sober, man. I don't know how these things happen. More updates for multi-axis. Okay, so that hasn't been pushed yet. Well, that's nice at least. More updates for multi-axis. So yeah, is this the one where it got screwed up? Let's see. Utility. Yep. Not sure why, but I-axis codes is EXYZIJK. It should have just been left alone. I don't know why it's there at all. Okay, how's that? That goes away, moves down in there, fine. I see. Yeah, fine. That's the way it's supposed to be. We're all good, we're all good. Next, ubial motion. What happened here? A little cleanup. Michelangelo, adjust headers. So you remember the main thing that changed were just comments, right? Maybe they were just missed in one of the updates. But yeah, I'm not seeing those comment updates here offhand. Must be a while ago. Yeah, it's old stuff. Old stuff. So yeah, I'm not sure. I am not sure what was different with that. Come back to it. File history on SDIO tells us all kinds of fun things happened. Let's see if any of that is needed. I think not. No. SDIO. Just that one thing. That was a follow-up. That was the one follow-up was that one comment. I think that was the whole thing, actually. I feel like that's funny. When was that actually even done? July 9. Somewhere in here, I imagine. Yeah, 24470, huh? So be it. I like mysterious commits to be all bundled up. They're fun. Okay, finally, planner, and then we'll go back to UBL. What changed here in bug fix? When was that? In this case, clean up extra axes. Well, there was that. I guess maybe that's the one thing I want. Yep. Okay, good. Okay, how are we feeling? Pretty good? too. I'm feeling pretty hungry. So it's been a while. Started around 5-ish, and it's been 3 hours, so that's a good place to call it. I'm really close to this release. Right after dinner, I'm going to tag some stuff. I'll even do a tag right now just for the fun of it. .2095, and that's the one that's got to go out first. And then the main thing is going to be all those release notes from 2094 to 2095. And let me tell you, there are going to be a few release notes, but not a huge number. The number of patches is good, nice manageable number. The changes to the config are minor and minor-ish. And keeping this rolling has been reasonable to like make this process shorter, but now that I have the scripts, it's like it might be better to just not do so much rolling and only bring over patches, like very minor, very obvious bug patches, and that's going to be the case for 2095 anyway. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for hanging around with me while I did all this nonsense today. And yeah, we'll catch up with you soon. And we'll see how much this new config downloading and uploading and patching part of the process works to help us rip out the config info. I especially want to pull out the structure and get the comments and everything and turn it into Jekyll. So I might jump into that process pretty soon, but I do have Chameleon 3D and a couple other things to get in. We now have Gyre's UI is back, but in an earlier stage, so before any point of contention with intellectual property or whatever the people are claiming. So we're in good shape to go forward with that, so we can start to consolidate more of those display codes together. Yeah, interesting things going on in all regards. So yeah, we'll catch up more soon. Love you.